You're listening to propsHR, an engaging startup. I'm your host, Cindy Windsor, along with my husband, Brad. We hope you'll follow our journey as a tech startup for employee recognition software with a social conscience. In addition to talking about our startup journey, we'll also talk about employee engagement and corporate charitable giving. If you'd like to learn more about our product, visit our website at propshr.com. Hi, I'm Cindy Windsor.
I'm Brad Windsor.
We are co-founders of propsHR, an employee engagement software company that creates a culture of recognition with a social conscience.
Shazam.
All right, so in today's episode, we're going to talk about lean development. Do you want to give a little definition of lean development first, Brad?
Yeah, I actually meant to look it up before this, so it would be correct, but I'm going to go ahead and wing it. Lean development is the process of making as little as possible, as close as possible to when it's needed. I think that's the way of summing it up. Waste as little as you can, use small batch sizes, and get as little wrong as you possibly can.
Right.
That would be kind of the elevator pitch of lean. It was actually engineered by, I think, Toyota about 20 years ago. So it's actually for manufacturing originally, but it applies to everything, just like Six Sigma and these other things.
Well, and I guess we should, before we get much further, is explain this is going to be a fairly technical episode. So if you're not a real technical person, it may not interest you as much, but we will be getting a little technical here.
Yeah. This is talking about development. So today we're going to talk about how we adapted to the tenets of lean during this startup phase, because the old ways do not work in the startup world. I should say the large enterprise ways are very difficult to apply in the startup world.
Well, let's start back to when we first started working together. How did we develop software?
Might as well just go back 15, 20 years. You always designed everything on paper. It would be a 200-300 page design document. You thought through everything. So I would spend 4 or 5 months designing. We'd revise the design, present it. We would go into coding for a year, and then QA would test for 6 months. We was an 18-month release cycle, and we would design a lot.
Yes, and there was so much. I mean, there was so much in there.
Yeah. So,
and as QA, I mean, I can speak from the QA perspective. This was the most painful thing in the world, because we would receive code at the end. Well, it's on us then to test everything out and make sure, and then we're supposed to release it on a set date, even though maybe development isn't releasing it to us in time to get it fully tested.
Yeah, this is a classic waterfall process, which pretty much everybody used then. It was safe. It resulted in about 18-month release cycles. There was no customer feedback loop in the world in those days. You had a year. The feedback loop was a year.
Well, and I would like to say the company we worked for was pretty forward-thinking in having QA. QA wasn't necessarily seen as needed.
Oh, yeah. Well, at a previous job, I developed software as internal software, and there wasn't a single QA person there. Just
That's so crazy.
That was internal. Who needs QA
Mind
for internal?
blown.
I know, it's hard to imagine now.
So then I remember we evolved to more agile development.
Yeah, that's called waterfall, that old one. So we switched about 7-8 years ago to Agile, the Scrum flavor of Agile, which tries to have a smaller batch size. In this case, it was a 2-week coding window. So you'd kind of design...
When you say coding, it's not just coding.
Testing.
It's coding and testing.
Well, it's a 2-week cycle for the team. So
right.
Every 2 weeks, they release a feature or two that can be used in theory. So what we ended up doing is we went with Agile and reduced our release time from 18 months. We'd already gone down to about a 12-month release cycle. And then we went down to 3 months most recently.
Right.
As we got more Agile. And actually, it was getting fairly agile there at the end. We weren't developing tons of stuff that nobody would ever use. In the early days, I'd say about 10% of our features were well used.
Yes.
And the rest were things we thought people might need, and then they stay in the software forever.
Yeah, and we thought they were cool. It's just,
we thought they were cool. And that's the failing. We thought they were cool.
Yeah, we thought they were cool. Customers didn't necessarily tell us that's what they wanted.
Yeah, we don't really need it, but we thought it was really cool. So anyway, so we got kind of lean at the last place, and then we took those tenets to this startup. When we started with the PTO directory, we had a full design for the entire thing. There was a little beyond an M.
It was.
Yeah.
We had developed more stuff than we actually needed, and we had spoken with a few people, but I don't think we had done much of market research as far as speaking with individuals who were in parent-teacher organizations and how this would fill the need.
No, we didn't. We talked to all our friends who got. Actually, I think we made the right product in the PTO thing. It just didn't need to be made. It's the problem.
It just wasn't needed. So was it the right product if it's not needed? That's the question, right?
Yeah. Well, there is no right product for that market, as it turns out. Yeah. So anyway, we designed that thing completely, and as a result, we made stuff we didn't need. I think the biggest thing about lean is to get rid of waste, and waste is defined as something you make but don't use, or any resource that's spent and nothing comes of it.
And even with our current product, I wouldn't say we started out as lean as we should have.
No, we designed the whole thing. And we actually hired a really good consultant to do some of the coding work, just some of the lifting. And we ended up developing some stuff that we didn't actually use at all, such as the ability to edit and upload new data, if in case users want to edit data.
Which we might need that in the future. Certainly it would be something helpful in a directory type product. But our product isn't a directory. Our product is, social recognition.
We also coded the ability for the app to work offline. It was a heavy lift. It was a kind of an investment. PTO directories must work offline. It's no good, if you're don't have a signal and you can't look anything up. That we don't use that. That's not important anymore. Anyway, so we developed a lot of stuff that we didn't need. Far less than we used to. But
I wouldn't say it was a lot.
There
was a few things. Obviously, if we could take that money that we spent on development on those things.
Coulda, woulda.
Exactly. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Would have been nice.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, but now we know there's a balance of just-in-time development. So
well, and I think that it was, our advisors helped point out were really encouraging us to follow that lean process. So we then took it upon ourselves to read the Lean Startup.
Yeah, they've been telling us to read it for a while, and we finally made the time. And it's true, we weren't as lean as we thought we were.
Right.
We were lean organizationally.
We were lean-ish.
Yeah, but the way we were moving was it was leanish. So we changed our dev processes a little bit. We design and code in very small batches now. In fact, our cycle of coding, testing, and checking is a day. It's usually 2 to 3 weeks at an Agile shop, but it's a day for us.
Maybe 2 days. It usually isn't very long.
But it usually goes really fast. We learn to test features without wiring them up fully. That's also a huge part of Lean. If you're going to test a new feature, say an invite model, it's really expensive to implement the entire thing and then see if it's any good. So what we did is the kind of opposite. And this is what a lot of startups have done. We added the UI to invite other users. And all it does is it sends an email to Cindy and me, and we have to quickly get that user stood up. So we are the squirrels in the box. It's not automated.
That's right. So that'll be on us. And then if we see people are using this and this is a viable feature, then we'll code it.
And we'll know because we are our own, we're doing all our own customer service.
Well, it'll become a big pain point for us.
Yes. So when we find this manual method doesn't scale, that's when we automate. You can automate everything at the front, but you can have a lot of waste at that point. We're going to automate it as we're feeling scaling pain.
Yeah, and I'll say that coming from the corporate world, this is a little more, I don't know, it makes me more nervous just because I want to make sure we have everything our customers need before they need it.
Yeah.
And it's
same here. That's the old way of thinking.
Yeah.
You've got to have everything thought of. Oh, what if they want to do this? Well, we got another 2 weeks. We're going to do that. So it actually kind of goes against our tenets. It's not all good having 25, 30 years of experience. You can drag some old ways of thinking
That's right.
with you. So you got to be nimble in your own thinking.
Yes.
And so we adopted a just-in-time development method, which
that's like your favorite phrase. Just in time.
Yeah, just in case, just in time. That's my DJ
Justin
name.
Bieber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we started developing things just in time, which is actually one of the tenets of Lean. Develop it when you know you're going to need it. We added usage analytics, by the way. We added them days before the beta started.
No. You forgot. We had a beta out there. People started using it, and then the second beta release had usage analytics in it.
That's right, because at this point we could use them. If we had done them earlier, it would have been lovely to have them, but the telemetry would have done us no good from these things, and we would have to change them all because UI changed a lot. That actually made sense to do at the end.
Yes.
Oh, and at this point, we're not doing any automated unit testing or functional testing, which from a big shop is kind of hard to imagine. But for a little shop, we can't afford to write these tests while testing a hypothesis.
And I'd like to point out, too, our app is not really, there's not a lot of features in it. It's not real painful to go through in the use cases.
You're right. It's a small app, and it is an MVP.
Yes.
Maybe plus a little bit. And you always add a little some, but yeah, it is a very small app, and it is an MVP. And a couple lessons learned. I wouldn't say lesson learned. It's cool to write as little as you can. We have a tendency to over-engineer, and when doing this, try to engineer for today with good code. You just can't engineer for every possible future. If you do, you'll over-engineer, and then when you pivot or make a bob or a weave, you'll have a whole lot to change. So code is
that's a big change for you as a developer, because previously in the corporate world as developer, it was very important to account for everything.
Oh yeah, I'd have an API for everything.
Well, also the product had so many customers already, so you don't want them to have the customers you already have to have a bad experience with a new release.
And I think that's what it is. That kind of stuff is very important to customer sat and business continuity.
Yes.
We don't have a business to have continuity right now.
Right.
So business continuity isn't exactly a priority, but that is very important. If you want your business to continue, you really will have to do automated testing once you have business and a stable, and a product that you don't want to break.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much
That's it.
sums up our lean development.
Yeah, I can't think of any other takeaways.
All right, well, thanks for listening to another episode of propsHR, an engaging startup.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And stay saucy, everybody.
Or sassy. Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening to propsHR, an engaging startup. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll follow our podcast and check out our website at propshr.com. Do you have a question about our startup or employee engagement software? Email us at info@propshr.com or tweet a question to us at propsHR using hashtag propsHRpodcast.